Hello. Welcome back to another episode. And today is one of the most exciting, freaky, I can't believe, pinch me, we're moment here. But we
Yes.
are so lucky to have one of the most influential artists ever for us to come on the podcast today. A Hugo Award winner for Digger, Nettle and Bone, and Thornhedge. A Nebula Award winner for the short story, Jackalope Wives. Sorry, my brain.
Good.
And I'm going to say this one wrong. Awards?
Mythopoeic.
Mythopoeic Awards for Adult and Children's Literature. I don't even know how many books you've written at this
I don't
point.
either, so it's okay. I think I know it's more than 40. I don't know if it's less than 50 yet.
Oh my gosh.
The
I've
problem is
had
it
a
gets
long.
dicey with like comic anthologies. You're like, okay, it was 100 pages of a comic. Is that a book or is it? Yeah, it's
I have some work to do. I've only read 3 or 4. Oh my goodness.
I've got a
a
journey
lot of
ahead
them
of
were
me.
short.
Okay. Well, good. I'll read through them quicker. I can get through all of them quickly. That's great.
You are lucky enough to also, again, have a successful webcomic. You've been an instant bestseller. You even got an anthropology degree, as I saw. And I hope to grow up to be you someday. We have
That
the
is very
amazing
kind.
Ursula Vernon, aka T. Kingfisher. And I'm sorry if I accidentally call you Kingfisher. It's just how I know you more.
It's all good. No, you can call me whichever. I will answer to both.
Specifically, we are here today because we were so lucky to get advance copies of What Stalks the Deep, which is the third book of the Sworn Soldier series, which, I have like all of them here because I'm obsessed.
Yes.
But we also just want to pick your brain about how you are, the way you are, how you make these stories amazing.
Yes.
It's funny, I was explaining this last book to my husband and I was like, I don't know how she does it, but she writes this like whimsy in her writing. She does this thing, there's so much heart, like it's scary and I'm freaking out. Like you've scared me in your writing more than any other horror books I've read. And he's like, so she's
Yes.
like the Hayao Miyazaki of horror. And I'm like, yes.
Oh, high praise. Oh my God, I'm putting that on my business cards. That
Yeah,
is,
I
that is,
first I first
yeah.
read your work with The Twisted Ones and I loved it. And at that time, I had read a lot of horror and not much was scaring me. But that scene where like the skull comes by the window and like in the bedroom, and I was like, oh my God, I'm terrified. This woman is my new favorite author. And then I read The Hollow Places, which made me very afraid of you, but also just fall in love with you even more because that's how my twisted brain works. And when I heard you were doing the Sworn Soldier series, I actually had no idea it was going to be a historical fiction style. And again, fell deeper in love with you because not only can you do contemporary horror, you can do historical fiction horror. And I'm just so glad to meet you because your writing is so wonderful. It's so impactful. It's so influential too. Like Kate and I were both writers. We both want to do writing horror and just so much to aspire to that you've given us to look into. So thank you for being here and thank you for all your wonderful books that we've read.
I should warn you, I was raised Catholic, so now I am expecting that I will be struck by lightning or something. Thank you so much. That is very kind.
Yeah, my first jumping off point for you was Hollow Places. Gave me nightmares. Yeah.
Yeah. And here we are
I'm
today.
sorry, but I with horror, it's always like people are like it scared the crap out of me, and I'm like, yay, but I'm sorry, but yay.
Yeah.
It's
Not sorry.
complicated.
Hashtag not sorry.
No. So we know that, originally I wasn't able to tell. Did you publish children's books first that got you, or were you publishing your horror fantasy side first?
I was a children's book author first I did a webcomic, and then graphic novels were like the big hotness in like the
Mm.
mid thousands, and so I got a literary agent because of the graphic novels. And then she was like, "Why don't you write a children's book?" And I said, "I can probably do that." And fortunately, I was right. I could, and wrote like really, I had no idea what I was doing. I was doing comics and commercial illustration and whatnot. So when she said, "Can you write a children's book?" I was like, "Yes." And then I tried to think how long it should take me to write a children's book and how long before, she would get tired of waiting. And I was like, "Can I have 6 weeks?" And because I was used to art turnaround times, and she
Mm.
was thought I was joking and said, "Why don't you take 8?" And I was like, "Great, then I'll have time for edits."
Done.
And I did it, And, I mean, there's only like 15,000 words, and she was like, "Okay, did not see that coming. Alright, I'll go see if I can sell this then." And she could, fortunately, later books put the deadline at a little more normal, but I had no idea what I was doing. I wrote, God, how many, children's books, I think, 18, something like that, as Ursula Vernon. Then, but in horror, well, actually, I always say that inside every children's book author is a frustrated horror author because
Mm.
there's all these things they tell you that you are not allowed to do. So eventually I just like snapped and was all, I'm gonna write a book that's gonna have dead bodies and gore and everything, and no one will stop me. And I self-published it because it
Mm.
turned out no one had any idea what to do with it. If you've been on the writing circuit, you've probably gotten the "we like this, but we don't know
Yeah.
how to sell it."
Yes, all the time.
100%.
And yeah, so I eventually self-published it, and then that spiraled into all the adult horror and fantasy, and now I don't actually even do children's books much anymore because the market kind of crashed during the pandemic. But
Which was the horror book that you self-published first?
uh, it was more of a fantasy. It was Nine Goblins. It was a
Okay.
weird little fantasy novella with a lot of dead bodies. And
As there should be.
then, absolutely. And then The Seventh Bride, which I thought when I was writing it, I might was maybe a children's book, and both my agent and the editor were just like, "Heck
No,
no."
no.
So I self-published that, and then eventually, I was mostly doing fantasy and fairy tale retellings,
Mhm.
and but everyone would say, "There's a lot of horror in these." And finally, one day I was like, "What if I tried to write a horror novel?" And so, that was The Twisted Ones. Uh,
Okay.
I, had been self-publishing everything up to that point, and then I literally made a joke on Twitter where I was like, I'm bad at elevator pitches. This one is, the Blair Witch Project meets the Andy Griffith Show, and
That is
an editor that
accurate.
yeah, right? And
And
an editor I
boom.
sort of knew in passing, from online was suddenly is in my DMs going, "Is this real? Can I see it?" And I'm like, "Huh? Oh, sure, okay." And, yeah, I went from there.
I did not know that you actually self-published. It's really encouraging for us as,
Mhm.
I know CJ and I both had the experience of like, your book sounds good, but we can't sell this right now. So,
Yeah.
I'm going down the self-published route now. So it's really
Yeah,
encouraging.
it's the usual thing if you
And
can sell, like,
mhm.
1,000 copies. Yeah, it's the usual thing of
Really
if
want
you
to
can
hear
sell
this.
1,000 copies, that's great for self-publishing. Most big houses don't, are like, "Okay, that's about 10,000 less than we wanna sell," so
Okay,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of high expectations for traditional publishers.
Mhm.
yeah.
But so
And
we
that's
went
why
down this
self-publishing
journey.
is really great.
Yeah. Plus now I think with like Barnes& and Noble publishes too, Amazon Kindle Unlimited, there's so many options now. Not that I hate supporting Amazon, but now you went down this self-publishing journey. You had Twisted One. Someone was interested in Twisted One. When did you start switching to the pen name T. Kingfisher? How did it come about? What's the story of
Oh god,
Kingfisher?
that was actually my first, self-published novel. I hadn't actually even published it yet. The small press who had put out Digger had, years before I had done a fantasy novel, and, that was I mean, I started it when I was 16, so make of that what you will, and it had vanished without a trace. I hadn't even thought about it, and somehow at this reading I was doing for kids, the library had got a hold of a copy and raffled it off, and a 10-year-old won it, and I went, "Oh my god, that's the one with all the torture and the elf sex," and did the
Oh.
slow motion, "No!" across the room. Yeah, great. Pen name good. Should have probably started the children's stuff under a pen name. But, yeah, so, it was important after that.
Yes, I can see why. Absolutely.
Well, I know with like so many authors, I know with like hearing Schwab and everything too, it's just like jumping into the genre. So many people picked pen names that were more of the masculine variety or something that like they couldn't tell so much who the author was,
Yeah.
especially for like book buying and stuff. They would, see the author name and be like, oh, this thing's something to be sellable. But I just think in a whimsical way, the pen name works too. So
Oh, yeah, and honestly, it's possible that had I realized that I was not just publishing one novella on a lark, but embarking on, a career, I might have chosen something more, normal, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. But and it also has the advantage, which is very, very inside baseball, but a friend of mine is a romance author, and Sabrina Jeffries is her pen name. And she's like, when you pick a pen name, try to get in the JKL range because that puts you at eye level on the Barnes and Noble shelves.
hmm
That is good to
And
know.
I'm
I did
like,
not know that.
really? Yeah. And I mean, it changes when they shuffle things around and all, but I've gone in and yeah, Stephen King is right about eye level, and I'm usually right after. But then you go to like airports and whatnot, and I'm like way down at the bottom. It's Barnes and Noble specifically that shelves like that.
hmm No, I just watched an interview from Robin Hobb because that's her pen name is Robin Hobb, and she was saying, "Yeah, I went to the store and I was like, well, there's Robert Heinlein there, and there's this, so I'd
Mm,
be a really good place if I put like Hobb as my last name and be an H." So,
Yeah, I'm
and
between King and Barbara Kingsolver, and I'm like,
that's a
surely
great
someone will notice
place.
I exist. And Dean Koontz if it's just the horror section.
I don't think you know how famous you actually are because I was mentioning to my book friends I got to talk to you, bragging because I couldn't help it, and they lost their minds. They could not,
Oh,
sorry, they could not
wow.
believe
Yeah.
that they're like, you better send me the link. I need to watch this because I can't believe it.
Yeah. You have quite a following.
Oh, that's wonderful. Say hi for me. I it's been weird because like I think when you're an author, you always have the event when you're starting out that no one comes to.
I've heard that. Yep.
So you just sort of establish like, okay, that's the worst. And the baseline is like 10 people come and half of them are your friends. And everything above that, you're like, this is an aberration. Yeah, event, this is clearly just because of some thing of advertising. And so every now and again, I will get a long line and I'll be like, what's happening? This is very
Who are
strange.
they here for? Oh, for me.
Yeah,
How nice.
I know my
no,
friend
it's,
was
yeah.
my friend was like, I got to see her at Dragon Con. I was like, that's
Oh, yes, yes. Dragon Con was
so
lovely.
yes,
I do kind of wish I had not done Dragon Con and then Rose City Comic Con on back-to-back weekends
yeah.
because that was sort of a death march. But
Mm.
hopefully, I was not too punchy for the readers, or I was very punchy and more entertaining. I don't know which.
Punchy is always good. When in doubt, add more punch. In all
Now
respects.
you are your inspiration, the amount of books you put out, like it's mind-boggling. I know with CJ and I, we're trying to keep our imagination going. I'm about to start my next book, all this stuff. Like, how do you get inspired? How do you keep that well full? What type of things do you work on just to like keep developing these fantastical stories?
Well, thank you. Well, part of it is that I work on multiple books at the same time, and I have ADHD so badly that like squirrels are like, "Wow, that chick is distracted." Uh, so it's actually much easier for me if I've got at least two projects, generally three, going, because then if I hit a point on a book and I don't know what happens next, or I'm just bored writing it, I can switch to the other one.
True.
And by the time I don't know what happens next, or I'm bored, the back of my brain has had time to percolate on the other one. Uh, for inspiration, I read a lot of nonfiction actually, and the only problem is that I will read a book and it will be fascinating, and I will be like, I have to write a book that is about this, which was fine when I was reading about the history of perfumes or the history of salt, which is amazing. The whole world ran on salt. But when the book is cod a world history, little trickier, and Someday I will write the fantasy romance that is based on medieval sewer system design. I have not
I
figured
will
out how
read
to make
that.
it work yet.
Same.
I will read that.
Right? You know, there's so much there, but it hasn't quite happened yet. But I read a lot of nonfiction, and there are just so many interesting things, and so I will like fall down rabbit holes about anything that catches my interest. And I also I play a lot of video games, and so sometimes those are very very inspirational.
Mm.
Hopefully in the good way. Sometimes in the this is not how you do that. I will show you how you do that way. Uh, Spite is a great motivator. I recommend it highly for many people.
I'm a
I
Raylo fan, and how that ended, I was like, I'm writing a book to fix it.
Thank you. Yes, I know, right? No, I may have written a fanfic or two, and I just got disgusted after. I was like, damn it.
I know that's actually the book I'm publishing hopefully soon. It's like a Raylo like retelling of like he gets to live. So
Good. And the thing that annoys me the most about the character of Kylo Ren, just to go off on my favorite rants,
oh
if
no,
they
please, I
had
love it.
given him a sense of humor, there would not have been a dry panty in the house. Like that was their great failing. If like just self-deprecating humor in there, and it would have been one of the great villains. As it was, uh, almost swing and a miss. So yeah.
Yep, every time, but I can't help it. I still love it.
I just want to say that I don't think you should immediately dismiss the Cod book as inspiration because I feel when I first heard the title, What Stalks the Deep, I thought of an ocean and we were going into the ocean
But
and
it's
into
a
the sea.
bear.
So, and a lot of, and I was looking on Goodreads and a lot of other people thought that too. So I feel like there is definitely a market there that you can tap into, especially with your newfound knowledge of the cod industry. So don't dismiss it.
The only thing that stops me is that I would have to learn all of the names of the ropes and the sails and whatnot on a sailboat, and the amount of work involved there is just staggering because the nautical people who read Master and Commander are like the gun people and the textile people. They will send you emails, and
Oh, okay. Okay. You don't want
yeah,
to get angry
Okay,
letters from
but
fans.
idea here. What if like when Alex goes back to Europe, it's on the ship that she's going home on?
Yes, and they have
hmm,
an adventure at
Because
sea.
then she doesn't have to know the boat that much, but it's the ocean one, the water one.
that is an interesting possibility. If I go north, I can hit some of the Arctic stuff.
I think so. You
Yeah,
heard it here first, people. We
they had to go
gave
to
the
Greenland for
idea
some reason.
for the next Alex book.
No, it's so exciting. So you talked about video games that you play. Are you doing more of like the role playing, like I forget all the names, RPG?
First person
Uh,
shooter.
Like, what's your favorite video game?
Horizon Zero Dawn was basically one of the few perfect video games. I loved Baldur's Gate 3, kept me
Mm-hmm.
laughing. Loved Dragon Age Inquisition. I can only do RPGs up to a point though, and then I usually spend a lot of time. I will do like city builders and things where you build your own museum
Yeah.
and
Mm.
stuff because it's just sort of fun and mindless, and like I can make this cool little space where I do not have to worry about anything other than whether there are enough toilets in the museum and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
good to
I'm a
have
big
a. Go ahead.
town. I'm a big town builder game person as well, mindlessly, and I also love me some. I'm actually gonna try Baldur's Gate, so another check mark to try it.
I want to try Baldur's Gate too because I've been playing D&D for the past year and I love it. And my husband is like, I think you would probably like Baldur's Gate because it has some very similar aspects to it. And I'm just waiting for him to get a version that he can put on the TV, not on the computer, because I spend enough time at a computer. When I want to unwind, I need to be away from the computer.
It cut out for just a
That's
second.
a
Which one were you saying?
Baldur's
Baldur's
Gate
Gate.
for both of us.
Yes, yes. Okay, and who is your favorite companion in Baldur's Gate?
But we haven't played it yet. We're ready to
Oh,
like
okay.
dive in
Yeah, I
because
was
she
saying I
plays
want to
D and
dive in
D.
because I'm playing D&D, so it seems like a natural
Oh
progression.
yes, Oh, very much so, very much so. It's yeah, they did an amazing job of porting. I also play D&D, of porting the system over to a video game, like better than almost all of the ones I've seen. So
Nice.
That's so awesome. Like you going back to your nonfiction reading that you do, one of the things I would say, especially I think CJ and I have talked about your previous books, is you do put so much of that research into it. What was the Vulture book when she was the
Yeah. The
entomologist and
House
all
with
of
Good
that?
Bones.
House of Good Bones,
yeah.
thank you. I really appreciate that. And one of the things that I also appreciate more is the little letters you write at the end that kind of like explain where the research
Mhm.
came in,
Yeah.
explain how you got to that, where the reading came in. I especially liked it with What Stalks the Deep, that you were reading that one specific little like booklet about cave systems and how that actually like helped inspire the process.
Oh yeah, yeah. I am so glad people like the research, because every now and then you will read a
Yes.
book where it's clear the author has done the research, and
Yes.
by God, you are going to read it. So I am
Yeah.
glad it is entertaining. But yeah, it is weird trying to find sources on some things where you can't just pull it up on the internet instantly. I
Mm.
because we get so used to all knowledge being at our
Yeah.
fingertips, essentially.
We
But I
do,
feel like
definitely.
that's one of the things I love about your writing is it gives me like a little window into something I didn't
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
I'm learning as I'm reading.
Yeah, I really like the all the fungus and mushroom talk in the first one because I have an interest in that. I love to eat mushrooms and I love to look at them. Like when I'm out walking, my husband absolutely hates them, hates them. So like he couldn't even look at the book cover, and I couldn't tell him much about it. But I really loved learning a lot more about it and what they could become. So that was very interesting.
Speaking of that book cover, I swear that is why the book did as well as it did. Christina Rosick did an amazing job on those covers,
The
and
covers
the
are
rabbit
amazing.
fungus was
Yeah,
just,
the
yeah.
rabbit fungus
People kept
definitely.
picking it up, going, "This is disturbing. Let me look at it."
Let me read it. This must be something I'll enjoy. That's what I said, pretty much.
Now I know that we talked about like the nautical research that you would do if you ever were doing your COD one and all this, but outside of that, have you ever done purposeful research for a book? Are you just always inspired by something you read and then that leads to a
Mm.
book?
Oh no, I actually, for What Stalks the Deep, I had to do a lot of purposeful research on coal mines. Had sort of this vague idea about that I wanted to write something set in America, and I drove through West Virginia all the time when I used to live in North Carolina, and I knew all the coal mining there,
Mhm.
and also I'm terrified of Mothman, who is from West Virginia.
Oh. Yep.
I you know was originally sort of thinking, is this a Mothman book? No, it's not a Mothman book. It's something else. And but I realized I didn't know anything about coal mining in the 1800s, and what sort of perils you could encounter in a coal mine beyond they're scary and maybe they could collapse. So I had to do
Yeah.
so much research, and in fact, all of the Sworn Soldier books being historical, I would be like in the middle of a sentence. That they're some of the most exhaustively researched books I've done. I would be in mid sentence and go, "Hang on, was canned food invented yet? Let me go look that up." Oh,
Yeah.
Napoleon invented canned food. Okay, well, there's somebody in his army. Oh, but they didn't invent can openers until a lot later. How very strange. Okay, yeah, and things like that. So frequently I would, and sometimes it would be like one sentence in the book, but I would have to spend 2 hours going, what kind of headlamp would they conceivably have been
I
using,
was wondering
right?
that.
And then, like, half the time I wind up getting the sentence. So that this is the fate but it's much easier for me today, as I was saying, online than
Mhm.
it was in the days when you had to go to the library and be like, give me all of your books on headlamps of the 1800s.
My a lot of my ancestors were coal miners in Pennsylvania. And I've always known like the same things you said, that it's dangerous for cave-ins and just losing oxygen and things like that. But it was really interesting to learn all the different kinds of damps that exist because I had no idea. And for me, that made What Stalks the Deep so scary is because there's all these things that aren't supernatural, they're completely natural of the earth that can kill you. So there's some supernatural horror and then there's real life horror. So you just packed it all
Yeah.
in. And you do that with all your books too. You know, like with the
Mhm.
mushrooms, like that was a fungus that could really morph into something like this and makes you think, you know? So I love how you marry those two together.
Well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, on the mine gases, I think it was a website that was trying to sell you ventilation for your coal mine, but it had this wonderful chart of all of the gases you could encounter and whether they were poisonous or they would explode or both. And I referred to that like I had just had that tab open for like a month,
Just a
going, all
nice
right,
wall hanging now.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It was yeah, the slim book of mine disasters was just this person said they could retrieve their tape measure they dropped into the gas and could not and died. And I'm like, holy mackerel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's intense.
The
It's just
moral of the
it's
story is
ready for
that's you.
horror, ripe for horror.
But that's something I feel like you do so well, especially in the Sworn Soldier series, is the fact that like you write some of the scariest horror because your monsters have a foot in reality. Like every single monster that I've seen, and I think that's why Hollow Places scared the fucking bejesus out of me, is the reality of what you created being in the, oh, could this really happen type of things. And on top of that, you also, especially with Sworn Soldier, you create like these sympathetic monsters that you in
Mhm.
a way want to like save as well. Like I cried at the end of What Stalks the Deep. I cried because I was just like, I have so much heart and emotion in this. But like, how do you go about that? Like, where do you go with the thread to twist what we know?
Yeah, you are not the only one, by the way, for Stalks the Deep. Like I have said before, that if that was a science fiction novel, with one twist, it would be the military is here to destroy the thing. The scientist
Mm-hmm.
is keeping the scientist alive and is the alien organism. Yeah, it's and honestly, with a with more technology, maybe they would have been
Mm,
able to find a way. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, the I think what it is for creating these is just uh, I tend to do a thing where I follow something to like the logical extreme, and every step in my head seems very straightforward, but I eventually wind up somewhere moderately terrible, at least according to my editor. The example that I usually use here is in one of the fantasy novels, Paladin Strength. Fantasy romance. It's really very nice, except for the severed heads. Uh,
What's a severed head or two between friends? It's fine.
really right. I wanted to create a just a sort of weird fantasy, uh, not monster, but I had rabbits, and I was like, why don't I have a rabbit hive mind? Everybody does bees as a hive mind. Nobody does a rabbit hive mind, and I was like, okay, that'd be cool. We'll have the war in mind. I read Watership Down at a formative age. What can I say? And I was like, all right, but okay, I want them to talk to the humans, and how would that work? Because obviously rabbits just don't have the throats or the mouths or
Mm,
anything to produce human speech. So how would they go about that? And I'm like, well, what if they, maybe you like hives have specialized, members. Maybe they literally like have a member of the warren who can talk to humans and has the equivalent and of mouth parts and vocal cords and whatnot. And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, but that's going to be like really top heavy because that's a lot of stuff to pack into a rabbit head and neck. And I'm like, okay, so it probably can't walk very well, and the other rabbits probably have to kind of drag it out of the hole so it can talk to the people. And then I was like, okay, and rabbits, when they vocalize, they do that horrible screaming noise, so it probably sounds sort of like that. And I and it was all each step was very logical. And then and even like in the moment, the characters in the book are like, well, that's not okay. And my editor is just like, I'm going into the closet with a stick of butter and not coming out, you know? And I'm like, okay, I see that, yes, this is unsettling, but all the steps were very logical. Yeah, I just do that a lot, and things happen.
No, it makes so much sense. I feel like this is like the best part about being a writer is for me, I'm a retired engineer, I like to say. So for me, I'm always like, okay, well, logically, if I do this, and logically it has to have this step, and then this would be the case, and then this would be
What kind of engineer?
electrical.
Oh yeah, my older stepson is an industrial electrical engineer, and
Oh, that's so cool. I used
yes,
to design roller coasters at Disney, and then my spirit was broken.
holy crap,
So
that's amazing,
thank you.
dude! I
Yeah.
wow. Okay,
Yeah, and then I
so one
decided I
time
won't go ahead.
I was on Space Mountain when they were doing the like tribute to the Red Hot Chili Peppers or something, and they had lit the place up so we could see the clearances on the heads, and I was like, "This is unbelievably terrifying."
Yeah, they use cutouts made out of wood with a clearance that they put in the ride to make sure it clears, but it's still
It's a little
terrifying.
iffy. Little touch
Yeah.
and go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I'm sure it's safer than it looks, but you look up and you're just like, "Oh my god." Yeah.
Yeah, but remember nobody dies at Disney. They just wait till they're off
I
property.
I have always assumed that is because they drag them off site before declaring death, but
Probably it. That's what they
Yeah.
have in Florida for. There's all those gators that can get rid of bodies.
We waited enough time with that little boy, right? Yeah, but that's what I love is like, when I wanted to be Disney, not work for him, so that's why I became a writer instead. But I just think like sometimes having that logical side of your brain can take you to the extreme because you try
Mm.
to fit something in our world that wasn't supposed to fit, like the rabbits and the vocal cords.
yeah, yeah, and uh, I mean, I am sure that like the creepy haunted roller coaster has been done so many times that you're like, oh God, no, I don't even want to think about it. But yeah, I'm sure it would be a fascinating book if the hero was like a or not railroad, roller
Hmm.
coaster designer or something, going,
Hmm.
that's
You
just
know,
Now
people
I need to
find
write
that
a new
sort of thing
book.
fascinating.
yeah. But will they find a place in the market for it? Who knows? I don't
The
know.
things I could write about Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
You
That is
intrigue me.
that's one of the grossest rides I've ever stood under.
Really?
And the day I happened to go there, they also had a dead raccoon, so add that on top of it. And yeah, because the whole underground of Haunted Mansion for like the mechanics is under the ride for that one. People dump their ashes. That's the thing in the ride, and so
Yeah,
Seriously?
yeah.
yes, and
Uh,
think about
it's a
people
big thing.
shed. So then down through the top, you've got these like hair and skin hanging in these clumps from the ceiling.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Oh my gosh. I
That's
am so glad that ride was
incredible.
closed now when I was there and I couldn't go on it.
Yeah,
Wow.
Disney's
Oh, that's
one of the grossest
amazing.
places I've been.
Oh, I remember one time at I think it was the one in Florida. We were doing the jungle ride, and
Uh-huh.
dead rat floats by in the water, and I'm like, yeah, that'll happen.
Awkward.
And but yeah, and I get off the ride into the people the Disney professionals, whatever they're called, cast members or whatever, standing around. I'm like, uh, you might want to know there's a dead rat in the ride,
I'm gonna
and like,
fish that out.
yeah, and like three of them look at me with abject horror, and I'm like, are you thinking you have to be the person to get the net? I don't know. I'm like, it's fine. I'm not gonna like complain or anything. Don't worry. I just thought you might want to know. I mean, dead rats happen. It's okay.
Yeah.
Actually had to traipse through the woods of the jungle ride, and we were looking for a specific box back there. And I remember like coming out of it, and the engineering people were like, "You were walking back there?" And we're like, "Yeah, why not?" And they're like, "Because there's so many poisonous snakes back there. It's so dangerous to walk back there." And I was like, "Thanks for telling me now."
Oh man.
Oh God, because I bet the Florida one at least, that's probably where all the cottonmouths like to hang out
Yeah,
because that's like big water with no predators and whatnot.
yeah. I worked in Disney World, so yeah, the Florida. I'm in Florida.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
But
Man.
yeah, so enough about me. Your interview.
Sorry, I do this at whenever there's like they have one of those like, author brunch things. I'm
Mhm.
always like, it's awkward to talk about myself. So what do you all do? And inevitably, there's someone who's like, my job is boring, and I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, I train corpse retrieval dogs or something. And I am like, all right.
Yeah. Tell me
Uh,
more.
I want to know everything about this immediately.
Yep.
Just like, do you know I'm a horror writer? Like, you're feeding me fodder.
Yeah.
Oh God, when I was I had breast cancer a couple years ago. I'm fine. It's cool. They got it all. But modern medical technology is amazing. But I
Yay,
would go
medicine.
into the the various tests they have to do before they give you any chemo to make sure that you won't just drop dead, and like the heart ultrasound things or the cardiogram or whatever.
Mm.
And I would be like, so what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen? And they would be like, oh, you know, there's so much. And I'd be like, I'm a horror writer. And they would, in the text message, would be like, okay, so we got this guy in who had a cardiac infection, and it was on the valves and on the thing. They just whipped back and forth like these long ropes, like snakes of like infected tissue. And I'm like, this is amazing.
And you're just
The only
scribbling
ones,
it all down.
yeah, I'm like, really? The only ones who would not be the nurse practitioners in like the oncology ward were like, I will tell you after you are done with treatment. And I'm like, oh, you're no fun.
Oh, man. You know what book you would enjoy that we read on the podcast? Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doughty. I think you would
Mhm.
I am
enjoy that
writing
book.
down.
Yep.
It's
That's
written by
nice.
a mortician, and
Mortician.
it's all the
Ooh.
morbid curious questions that she has come across.
Yeah, everybody
It's
asks her.
nonfiction.
Yeah, it's nonfiction. It has some really interesting tidbits in there. Another one that's good by her is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and it's about her time at a crematorium when she was first entering the mortician industry. But it goes into a lot of body-specific questions and issues, colors, shapes, textures, lots of fun things for horror writers to know and learn.
Was she the mortician who was on Twitter a lot?
She is on
Because
Twitter a lot.
if
She has like
so,
black hair, like short black hair, I think.
I think at one point I called her because I had some questions for House with Good Bones about
I'm not
finding teeth
surprised.
in the ashes, and I was like, "Damn it! Does anybody know? Can you request to get the ashes back with the teeth not having been ground into powder?" And if it was
She would know that.
a very nice mortician whose name I've forgotten was in my DMs going, "Call me and I will answer all of your questions." And so
That
I did,
sounds like
and
her.
yeah, yep.
That
And she
sounds
was
like
like,
her.
it would be a little weird, but quite frankly, it would not even be the 10th weirdest thing the mortician had heard that week. So yeah, no
Mm,
problem.
yep. That sounds like her and sounds very much like a question we came across in the book, quite honestly. So maybe that made it through to Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? It all comes back full circle. I love it. I love it.
I will definitely, I am buying it now.
Yes.
Oh, we want to be a little selfish and pick your brain a little about the Sworn Soldier series by asking first and foremost, are there going to be more books? Yes.
I
Can you
don't
tell us?
know. I
Ah,
do not
get
have
off
one
the
in
podcast now.
progress.
No.
Sorry, I'll go quietly. I don't have one currently in progress, but there is a very weird pulp story that by A. Merritt called "The People of the Pit." That and if you've not read A. Merritt, and there's no reason you should have, he was one of the lesser lights of pulp horror. Uh, he basically about 9/10 of his stories ended with, and it was a giant telepathic slug made of darkness. And he had a formula, and but he wrote one where they were indeed giant telepathic slugs. They were extra dimensional, and it's, let me be clear, it's an incredibly stupid premise, like utterly, like really, really dorky. But the sort of surrounding it and some of the details, like this it's set in like the Yukon or something, and two
Mhm.
gold miners find someone who is like crawling towards them because their legs have given out and their
Mm,
hands have given out, and they're like crawling on their elbows,
creepy.
and it's like there's just these little grace notes that are actually really interesting. And I keep thinking that Alex would be wonderful to go up against horrible telepathic slugs.
Yes,
And
yes.
so that one is still like percolating.
Okay.
I need to figure out some way to do it. The only problem is that I have to get them far enough north that it becomes a semi possibility, probably into Canada,
Hmm.
and I would
Greenland?
sort of love to have Miss Potter along, honestly.
Yeah, CJ,
I would
yeah,
like
was
to
very
throw
upset.
out a destination wedding for Angus and Miss Potter because I feel like that would be a delightful conclusion to that romance that's a brewing there.
I do know CJ was very
That's
upset Miss Potter was
actually
not
not
in
a
book
bad
3.
idea. Now that I think of it, she would probably want to investigate uh, the fungus you only get in that narrow wind Arctic summer. That's
Yep.
actually not a bad notion.
He could definitely
Mhm.
lure her there for a romantic wedding and honeymoon all in the Yukon area. He could hunt an animal there or something for the wedding feast. It could be beautiful. Yes, as Kate said, I was a little bit upset that Miss Potter did not make it into Stalks the Deep because she's my favorite character, absolutely my favorite character.
When
But
she
so I am
got
She's
always pulling
awesome.
for her to return.
the linguistic book reference in book 2 about her trying to learn Galicia,
Oh my God. I
we
I
were
was laughing
dying.
so hard I cried. I cried. I could not stop laughing. My husband's like, "What are you reading? Isn't that a horror book?" I'm like, "It is the best horror book," and I cannot stop laughing.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad.
What made you think actually of Galicia and the Sworn Soldiers, and especially with to do with gender,
With
naming that you
Alex.
came up with that was different in Alex?
Oh, it was percolating for a while. There were sort of two primary sources. One was that I took Japanese in high school, and 4 years cannot speak a word. Remember a couple of nouns, and I think a swear word or two. And but one of the things that stuck with me was that they had different words for counting different kinds of objects, so that you would have different words for counting like sheets of paper than you would for oranges. And I was like, that's very odd. And
Yeah.
for some reason, that was one of the things in my brain. And and then learning other languages with that some that have incredibly gendered things where all the words have gender, like Spanish,
Yeah.
and some like Finnish where the primary pronouns are not gendered. Uh, it's there was a book that came out a while ago, a science fiction novel, Ancillary Justice, which
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah.
great. And one of the conceits was that everyone that they used she for any person in it, was like that was the default pronoun, and it freaked out a lot of people in the industry who probably needed
Of
freaking out.
course.
And that did not translate to Finnish at all, because that just wasn't a thing. And I've been to Finland several times. I love them; they are great people. And so that was part of it, the sort of thinking about different words for different things and the extremes of that. And then there is a not like common but a reasonably well-known thing in history of where people will for economic reasons become a man. It's almost always a woman being who can't inherit because women can't inherit, is like, all right, well, now I'm a dude, I can inherit. And we have like examples of this going back to 1,000 years, but the most well-known one, and the one that sort of existed the most recently and still kind of does in very small amounts, was in Albania, where the they yeah, women could not hold property, they could not be head of household, but men had a very high mortality rate due to there was a lot of interfactional violence at the time. This was like
Mm,
early 1900s or whatnot. Everybody was fighting everybody. But if your husband died and you were a widow, since you could not hold the household, uh, you would have to move in with your in-laws, and
God.
very few women really wanted to do that. If
Nope.
you had a
Oh
Hard
hell
son,
no.
no.
the
Oh hell
son
no.
could inherit everything and be part of the household. But since men were dying a lot and no one
Mm,
wanted to move in with their in-laws, essentially, the workaround they came out with was, all right, your daughter can now be your son. And so the line I think that was translated was, she threw down the needle and took up the sword.
I
And
love
so
that.
you would have mothers begging their daughters to become men so that nobody had to move back home with the
Yeah.
mother-in-law and whatnot. And uh, I just thought that was fascinating as like a cultural workaround
Yeah.
for, you know, like it's very sort of Rube Goldberg, because if you just change so that women could hold property, it would be much easier. But we
Yep.
can't change that. That's
Nope. Can't do
immutable.
that.
But we can change gender. Gender's fine. Let's deal with that. And so between those things, it had been sort of in the back of my brain for a while. And I think in one or two novels I've even written, someone refers to, having someone swear as a man and that sort of thing. But it didn't really gel until I was writing What Moves the Dead. And then Alex kind of roared onto the page, and I was like, okay, this is the book that belonged in then.
You are a wealth of knowledge. Like
I
you just
know.
know
It's just,
so much.
this is a very educational podcast episode.
Please don't stop. Like I just can't believe it. No wonder you write so well
I
and
fall
so
down a lot
prolifically.
of rabbit holes on the internet.
Fantastic.
It's paying off for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Now, I know CJ had a question about Alex's progression through the series when it came to accepting of the extreme. Do you want to ask that one, CJ?
Sure.
Or okay.
Yeah. So, in the first book, What Moves the Dead, it's the fungus doing things, going into the dead bodies. And Alex is just kind of like, la, 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 this doesn't exist. This didn't happen. And then with the second book, it's with the ghost stealing the people's souls. And Alex again is like, well, it kind of might have happened, but it might have been a fever dream. And I notice in this book, in What Stalks the Deep, Alex is saying, oh, it might have been a fever dream, going at that. But now in What Stalks the Deep, there is just hard proof. There's evidence. Alex is talking to this creature that is not of this earth. Oh my goodness, that's my alarm. I'm sorry. Um, they are talking to this creature that's not of this earth. So is this going to be like a gateway to Alex searching out and embracing more supernatural origin cases like a Galatian X-Files?
I think that that's sort of the direction where it's heading, although I don't think Alex would search them out, because all Alex wants to do is basically go back to Paris
Hmm.
and hang out and not have this happen anymore. But I feel
And be
like
with that horse.
one of the reasons that they wind up in America is because Dr. Denton from the first book is
Yeah.
like, you are the other person I know who's been through this. So once you have sort of touched the kind of hidden world, you kind of can't go home again. In a certain sense, it's always sort of there. And so I
Yeah.
think it might be, Alex Easton reluctant X-Files, sort of
Yeah.
thing where I don't want to be here, but
While I'm here.
someone has to do it.
Yep.
And yeah, and I won't waste time going, this is impossible.
I mean, if we're going to the Yukon for the wedding of, Angus and Miss Potter, then if Alex happens to stumble along something happening there and can't turn a blind eye because, honesty and stuff,
Miss
then that's
Potter
what has
won't
to
let
happen.
them turn a blind eye because she's going to
Absolutely,
want to
absolutely.
investigate.
For all we know, Miss
It's just
Potter
saying.
went into the canyon to find an interesting mushroom, and
And then you got to
can't
go
let
save
that
her.
stand.
Yeah. exactly.
Who knew this would be inspiration? Anyway, so one of the things that I noticed too with this book, well, mostly CJ, noticed too with this series versus your other books is there's a very distinct writing style with this one. It definitely, what were you calling it? More of like an older, what'd you call
Like
it,
old
CJ?
timey historical fiction. I noticed there were a lot of adverbs, which made me happy because I love writing with adverbs, and I have had to actively, as Kate knows, as my critique partner, I have to weed them out and also not write in passive voice, which is another favorite of mine. But you just let it fly with this, and it's wonderful.
It
So
works.
it works. It works so well. But I was wondering if writing in that style for like the Sworn Soldier series is more your natural style, or if more contemporary active voice is your style.
I think the more contemporary is more my style. Usually, if I'm going to write a Sworn Soldier book, I read a whole lot of like pulp or something, or even even some Regencies, just to get like
Yeah,
the cadence going in my head. And because or Poe, Poe,
yeah.
talk about a man who loved adverbs. Dear God, uh, really, I read Fall of the House of Usher. Well, the reason I wrote What Moves the Dead was because went back and read Fall of the House of Usher for the first time since I was a kid, and went, my God, this is all about mushrooms. Wow, this is really short. Uh, because it's big in the cultural, consciousness, and it's barely a
Yeah,
long short
yeah.
story. And also, this is the most useless narrator I have ever read. Uh, all he does is like the sister rises from the tomb, and Roderick screams and falls down. She screams and falls down. He does not check anyone for a pulse. He does not try to drag them out of the collapsing house. He just screams and runs away. I'm
Ugh.
like, this would be a different book if someone competent was there, which was part of how I got to Alex.
Yep.
But yeah, just getting the cadence down
Mm-hmm.
can be tricky. And fortunately, if I've been reading it, it usually will stick in my head a bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is a problem if I go on like a Regency romance binge and I've just read like 20 Georgette Hare books, and all of a sudden, I'm trying to write a contemporary, and I'm like, okay, now you need to go watch some Leverage or something, because you are writing this as if you are, in uh,
Yeah.
1817 England or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
No, because
one of the
I
reasons
have
that
the same.
yeah,
Yeah, I have the same
I
thing. Like if I read a certain style,
have
it
to
comes
when I'm
100% through.
yeah, the
You.
usually when I'm writing fantasy, I read nonfiction, and when I'm writing horror, I read romance, so that I don't because if I try to read the same thing I'm writing, I get into the sort of it starts to like bleed into, and I'm like, okay, this
Mm-hmm.
is this is. I mean, it's great when it's Terry Pratchett, not so much when it's other people. So I have to like read what I'm not writing at that moment, which
Hmm.
Yeah.
is a
Yeah,
problem
yeah.
because I have many friends who are like fantasy and horror authors, and I'm like, I will read you when I'm editing. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where
Definitely.
I'm lucky. CJ and I are very different styles of writers, so we
Yes.
don't like.
We don't clash too much with that, which is
Yeah,
good.
she
But
writes a
you're
different genre of horror. I write a different genre of horror. Like it's perfect.
Yeah,
you're the way you work. Sorry, go ahead.
well, I was going to say I've only once run into someone who wrote very similarly to me in a lot of ways, and Richard Roberts, who writes "Don't Tell My Parents I'm a Supervillain" and some others, and he was like, "Will you read this novella?" I mean, like, "Let me send you a novella. I made you a supervillain in it." And I'm like, "Thank you. I am touched." And I read it, and it was almost we both had the same experience reading each other's books, which is we'll like get a sense like, I should tweak that. Like it's like we're editing a book, and they're like, wait, I didn't write this book. Yeah, okay, because it's something about the cadence, and they're wildly different plots and everything else, but something about the cadence of the speech and whatnot is so similar that
Mm.
reading them gets kind of eerie.
Hmm.
The way you work the old-timey language is just it's just so spot on. I was so impressed when I first read What Moves the Dead because number one, I wasn't expecting it to be historical fiction, like I said, and that you had pulled it off so well because I feel it's really hard to pull off that style when you're writing contemporary fiction, and not many people, they'll try and they'll fail very miserably. And this was
Yes.
just, it just flowed and you went with it. And I love that's what just made me fall in love with the series too, is like the spookiness and then how immersed in the world that you created it was.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think certainly with some of that, you have to use a fairly light touch because
Mm,
a lot of it, like a little goes a long way, and if you try to
hmm.
get it exactly in
Yeah.
that sense, on every beat, it becomes glaring. But if you just like hit sort of the grace notes
Hmm.
and let everything else sort of slide underneath, it comes across better. A lot of historians that I know online who are like whose favorite movie is The Knight's Tale, and
Mm,
I'm like,
You
okay, and
love
they're
it.
like, look, yes, there are a lot of things historically wrong, but like they segue into "We Will Rock You," and that is exactly how it like they wouldn't have done that song, but that is the essence of
yeah.
what they
Hmm.
were expressing. And it's like so all of the bits where yes, it's modern, but that carries the gist,
Yeah.
and so it's sort of a mishmash of actual historical and what gets the point across, I think.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I've never seen that movie.
Okay,
I
we're adding
know.
it
Are
to the
you
list.
surprised at this point? No.
No. I will definitely
I've
say I
never seen Top Gun, so don't worry about it.
I started and I had to stop. I just started watching it last year and I was like, this is awful. And I just stopped watching it. So please don't waste your time.
okay, we don't agree on movies ever.
No.
Anywho's, I would definitely have to say that I think What Moves the Dead was just so fortuitous for you as well because we had the Fall of the House of Usher miniseries that came out with Ryan Murphy. No, no, not Ryan Murphy. Ah, my brain today. I can never remember names today, but I just feel like, and that was one of the things too, is I did not like his version. Oh, Mike Flanagan. I did not like his version of House of Usher, Fall of House of Usher, so I was very excited to read yours and to have a
Oh,
second
thank you.
chance with the story.
Yeah.
There was also that sort of moment in horror where everyone was doing fungus, and I people have suggested all sorts of things about fear of environmental things and whatnot, and I'm like, I am pretty sure we all read the same issue and the same article in Scientific American about 2 years ago. Uh, about like cordyceps and ants, and then all went and wrote our books about it. So
And I know as us as two readers, we will forgive you. You didn't actually kill a dog, so it's fine. We'll forgive you.
I ran that by the biggest dog lover I know, and I was like, okay, I am not trying to make this a shocking moment
Hmm.
of of surprise. I want it to be clear. She's like, yeah, no, you realize pretty quick it's a the thing sort of thing
Yeah.
going on. So I'm like, okay, and I even had a nice dog in there. So, and I have
Yeah.
Alex get
No,
really mad because you don't impersonate dogs. God damn it. And
Don't do it.
yeah,
I
so I knew I was treading a line, but
You did it well. You did it well. You pulled it off.
I do love that
thank
about
you.
your writing. Like you have the greatest comedic animals, like Cobb the
Yes.
horse, like all this stuff, but we know like safely we can
Get
we can live
attached
with
to
it.
them.
Yeah, we can get attached to them. It's
Yeah.
okay. I love that about you. Infinity
Yeah.
stars.
Thank
Please
you for
please
that.
don't kill an animal. Please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty then. Did you have anything else you wanted to
I
add,
was
CJ? Before?
actually
Oh,
on
sorry.
a panel
Good.
like
Good.
sorry, there was a bit of clipping and I think I got a delayed thing.
Mm.
I was on a
You're good.
panel a month or two ago called about killing the dog, and the moderator had a service dog with him, so we were all like, what can we even say? And it was actually very fascinating. It was about the history. We talked a lot. We had a teacher there who talked a lot about how there are so many books that we make kids read growing up, where like Where the Red Fern Grows and whatnot, where the moral is the
Mm.
dog dies so you can become a man, kind of thing, or Old Yeller, and what that says about our cultural, gestalt the and I was ready to throw out all dogs dying books until I saw there was a rise in people who would not get rabies vaccines for their dogs because they thought it would cause autism. And I'm like, everyone must watch Old Yeller again. God damn it. Yeah, I'm still mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman episode too.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I've never
Because
seen or read Old Yeller because my
I won't do
mother
it.
warned me off of it, and she's like, you do not need to see this." But I did see the Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman episode, and oh, it hits you hard.
100%. Yeah, I'm not gonna do Yeller. I remember doing Marley and Me, and I've got my mom to sit and watch the movie, and we got to like almost the end. I was like, "Mom, do you want to believe the dog lives forever and ever and ever, and this is just a happy ending?" She's like, "Yeah, that sounds good." I was like, "All right, movie's over."
Yep.
I have an elder dog right now that
Yeah.
is definitely like lots of health issues, so I'm touchy about dogs right now.
Yeah. No, all pets need to live
Oh,
forever.
yeah, no,
That's
I have
just how it should be.
I have an elderly coonhound who was actually the model for Bongo in the Twisted Ones, and she fortunately has no idea that she's old because she's not that smart, but and is perfectly happy. And if she gets the one Librella shot for her hips, will bound around like a deer, and is happy to be alive. But yeah.
Now, before we wrap up today and your amazing time sharing with us, we've learned so much.
Yes.
This is just phenomenal. I have a closing question that we like to ask all of our people that we have host on the podcast. But if you were not writing books, what would be your dream job outside of books? I've had someone answer they'd be a lighthouse keeper. So, what would your dream job
Interesting.
be?
I would probably want to be an entomologist. Late in life, like discovered I am fascinated with bugs. I spend a lot of time with like my phone camera out in the yard and uploading them all to iNaturalist and stuff. And I have written a fair number of horror novels where bugs show up. There's the House of Good Bones, the entomologist, but
Yeah.
also I have Wolfworm coming out next year, which is about about a scientific illustrator who's working with a entomologist and discovers terrible things. And it's about botflies and screwworms. And I would just like to say, reality has really done me dirty on that one, because when I wrote it, screwworms were not coming north, and it was not a thing. And now I'm like, God damn it!
Oh,
Couldn't have waited till
uh-oh.
the book was out.
It's your fault.
I won't brag, but
Clearly.
I live next to an entomologist, and he's always over in my yard telling me what I have in my yard and helping me out. And
I am so envious. I am always there with like the book and the online keys going, okay, I have to dissect this insect's genitalia to tell what species it is. No, that's a step too far.
so I will take stuff over to him because he has a little lab in his house, and I'll be like, "What's this? Can you investigate this for me?" But I live in
Well,
Florida as well.
that's fabulous.
We have so many bugs here. It's just we're a walking bug hive everywhere.
Yes, I the first time I went to Florida was during the love bug season, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"What is going on? What are these things all over the airport windows?" It was a
Hate love bug
surprise.
season.
Remind me not to visit you during whatever love bug season is. Oh my Lord.
It's just they ruin your car. It's not really, you don't have to worry about them. They're fine. It's just
Okay.
when you hit them with your car, the acid in their blood ruins your paint job. And
Oh,
yeah, it's just
isn't that? Okay.
Thank you.
I-
Thank you so much for this amazing
Yes,
moment. I
thank
know
you.
that all of our listeners are going to love what we talked about and
Yeah.
shared. And if you are a new listener, please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe so that we can get this episode out everywhere for all of the Ursula Vernon / T. Kingfisher fans, and just spread the word of this. Like, I don't know, like I would recommend this to my non-horror readers sometimes.
Yes.
Because it's just so good. It's
yes,
just
absolutely.
if you want the Hayao Miyazaki of horror, read T. Kingfisher.
Seriously, I am keeping that one. That one is lovely. And I really think you should write like an amusement park work or horror novel or something.
I think you should too.
It could be anything. It could be I don't know, fantasy or science fiction. Just include the details like the hair and whatnot. That's amazing. That is the
Yeah,
stuff
that
people
is
eat up.
creepy AF, man. Seriously, you can work with that.
Let it sit in my house of horrors for a little bit, and let
Yeah.
me see what I can come up with.